All right, welcome back. This is Patrick, the principal farmer from Your Faith Farms, with another episode of Fear, Faith, and Farming. Here on our podcast, we interview farmers all around the country and talk to them about their adventure in farming in this modern time. One of the keys to our interviews is we talk about the fear of stepping out on faith in farming. We talk about why you have to have faith in this modern day and time. And then we just talk about general farming practices that they have. So today we're interviewing my close friend, my mentor in this agriculture space, a confidant, somebody I can call. They could give me the real all the time. And it's none other than my friend, Miss Lovey Gilliam. Welcome, Lovey. How are you?
Hello, assalamu alaikum, Patrick Muhammad.
Walaikum
How
salam.
are you?
How wonderful. Lovey Gilliam has Gilliams Community Farm. And today we're going to talk to her about all the wonderful things. Like Lovey is never still. She's doing 28 things all the time. So we're going to get a chance to just hear some of those great things and then interact with her today. So Lovey, tell us a little bit about you before Gilliam's Community Farm. Who is Lovey Gilliam?
Oh, Lovey Gilliam is a weirdo. That's who she is. Well, I used to be in car sales for over 20 years.
Mm,
So I believe that the car sales built up my customer service,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which in turn built the formation of Gilliam's Community Garden.
Wow.
Because without our customers and having a strong customer base, there's no way that a farmer can survive.
Right, right,
There's no way that we could sell a product.
right.
And that is the end deal in farming
Wow.
is we sow it, we harvest it, and we sell it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we have to stay, on point with that in order, to be able to be successful, you
Right,
know,
right.
in this farming industry and be competitive against the big box markets.
Absolutely. So, did you grow up in Atlanta? Are you from Atlanta? How did you get to where you are?
Oh man, so I grew up in New York City.
Mm,
My father is from Atlanta.
okay.
He's not a Grady baby. He was born on Ralph David Anthony and one of these from a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up in the West End. My father is graduated from Morehouse College.
Mm.
So he is an
Hey.
alpha dog.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yes, yes. I grew up with, in my era, I in my late 50s. So I grew up in the era of Martin Luther King, the Black Panthers, the
Right.
whole movement
Wow.
was, within my household.
Wow.
And my father being an activist and my mother being a ballerina at that time,
Mm.
it was just like two different worlds came together, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But then I've always had a love for Atlanta. I used to come every summer, spend it with my grandmother. I have many cousins here in Atlanta. So my family tree is very strong here.
Wow. And so you came back to Atlanta, and did you immediately start farming, or no? You went to the car sales first.
So I moved here in March of 2010. And by April, I was working for a car dealership in Union City.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there for about 5 years. And I met my late husband back in 2012, and
Mm-hmm.
he was actually the one that introduced me to farming.
Wow.
When we were dating, he asked to build me a garden, and I was like, "Okay, you want to grow food?" Being from New York, we're like, "What? We don't even see trees. You
Right.
want to do what?" So he tore my whole backyard up. I thought the man was crazy, but when a childhood favorite food of mine is a tomato sandwich,
Mm.
and he grew some of the odd heirloom tomatoes, and it was the best tomato sandwich I've ever eaten.
Wow.
And I at that moment I said to him, "Can you do this on a bigger scale?
Mm.
If we get land, could you do this on a bigger scale? There's other people out there that love tomato sandwiches too,
Mm.
and I bet you they never taste one like this." So that's the birth of Gilliam's Community Garden in
Wow.
2012,
Wow.
before
And
we got married.
right. And so you're in car sales, your late husband. makes you this amazing tomato sandwich, and now you're like, we need to do this more. So when did you transition from the backyard version to farming on a large? Now, did you go straight to there, or did you? What happened in between that time?
So we stayed in College Park where we met at church
Mm-hmm.
in 2012 for a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought the land here in the West End in Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta in 2012.
Wow.
But it was nothing but trees and kudzu. So it took us like a year to try to, get the property where you could walk in there. You could barely walk into
Mm-hmm.
this property when we first purchased it. But it was immediate for him. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I needed my bonus
Right.
from selling a Mercedes.
Right. Right.
You know, he didn't convince me all the way.
Mm-hmm.
It actually took about I say 8 years
Mm-hmm.
for me to come off my job
Right.
and to use my time, my experience in customer sales, my experience in business, and flip it to Gilliam to see how I can, extend and grow
Right.
and be able to put my hands in different things that are more agri farming
Right.
than farming. And you have to have both of them. You have to have agribusiness farming and farming.
Yes, yes. So, Lovey, tell me about standing, looking at this land in the city that's full of kudzu and trees. Tell me about what fear was there and faith when you're looking like, oh, we're going to farm here. I see kudzu. Like, talk to me about that process and the vision that had to be there, in the city. Because you said farming, you didn't say like we're going south to Albany. We're in the city. This is urban farming before people called it urban farming.
Yes. My biggest fear, my first fear was the neighborhood that I'm located in.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2012, there was a lot of abandoned houses on this one street. I should say that the West End was in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of robberies, there was a lot going on here. So that was my biggest fear. How is the neighborhood going to receive?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The kudzu is fine. We can deal with that. But it's the human people walking around, are they gonna rob us? What is really, how do we get the community first? Then we build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my thing was I went door to door and I talked to
Mm-hmm.
my community on my street to let them know what I'm doing, that you're going to start seeing activity, and is there anything that you like to eat? And they gave me their list and I grew it,
Wow.
and I'm still growing it. So
Wow.
as we started to tackle the the kutsu, my next fear is, where do we put stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an architect. My ex-husband wasn't an architect. So it was a lot going on trying to take this mat and develop, you know, a a blank canvas and paint on it,
Right.
and show the people to understand what we feel that we want for the land and
Mm-hmm.
out of the land.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the biggest challenges, coming aboard.
How
There
did
has been a lot of mistakes.
oh shit. How did you identify it? Like, you're in College Park. Was you just riding around like, you know what, I want that land, or like what? How did that come about?
So I actually contacted a broker,
Mm-hmm.
a land broker, and I asked him, where does he have at least close to 3 acres, in different areas. It wasn't really a West End I was looking for, but
Mm-hmm.
this is where my roots are. This is where
Mm,
my grandmother lived, right down on Ashby Street. So I wanted to be, somewhere near the streets my father used to walk,
right.
as you could say.
Right.
My father was over here one day, I
Right.
don't know when, but he walked these streets,
Right.
so I really wanted to have that closeness with the family. My ex-husband was from Chicago, so he really didn't have much family down here.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it upon myself to discuss with the broker, different areas. And there was several areas that he pointed out to me. And I came to this place 3 times and I didn't accept it because of the abandoned houses and because of the projects that's at the corner, just the neighborhood. you know. And then I thought, you know, someone has to make a difference
Mm,
in order for anything to move positively.
mm,
And I think that this garden, back in 2012 would have been is that is that thing that the neighborhood needs to see. In
mhm,
all the turmoil and the chaos, they need to see greenery. They need to
mhm,
see flowers. They need to
mhm.
know that there's something beyond the horizon.
Right.
That, you know, so that's what I wanted to actually bring to the table when I decided to purchase this area.
Okay. So in that 2012 time period in Atlanta, where was the city at with urban farming? Was it, I know we got like Truly Living. Was it only Truly Living Well? Was all that still early on, or like what was urban farming looking like in that time period?
It was Rashid Nuri, True Living Well. It was Bobby Wilson for Metro Farms.
Mm-hmm.
That was really it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they are the forefathers. I give them the respect
Mm-hmm.
due to them, for bringing, you know, agriculture to Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
and birthing this huge, you know, outreach of different farmers from all over the city, you know, outside of the metropolitan area that's interested in farming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
And
hard
was
to.
there any sisters? Were you the first sister kind of out there?
I was one of the first sisters, but not the first sister, no. I
Okay.
believe that it was, Jamila Norman. She
Okay.
came in around that time, farming. It was, several other, African American sisters. I know of Jamila,
Okay.
but, I'm not sure of the names of the other ones that started out.
Okay. 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 And
I
so
was the first one to own my land
right.
out of all of the black farmers in Atlanta.
Wow. Wow.
Because Rashid Nuri didn't own his land over there, and when he with the True Living Real first spot, he
Right.
didn't own it, so that's why he moved to
Yeah.
Lawton.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was one of the first female black farmers to own my land.
Got it. Okay, so now we found our location. We're starting to clean the kudzu out. We're getting it there. You're straddling the fence on car sales, but I'm getting this pool from the farm. You went door to door, what I think is amazing, and established yourself. That's where the customer service comes in. Now it's time to. Did you do a ribbon cutting? Did you turn the light on and say, "Hey, we're ready"? How did that transition go to now? We are a community farm, and here we go providing fresh fruits and vegetables for our area.
So many steps came, you know, out of our grand opening. I didn't have a ribbon cutting, but what I did is the first harvest from this garden went to the neighbors on my street,
Mm,
just with a note, you know, letting them know that I'm here. Every month until this day, my neighbors get food.
wow.
And it's a way that it acts as a security
Mm,
without paying for security.
mm,
Because if someone comes on my property, one of my neighbors is gonna call me.
right, right.
There's a stranger on your land. There's somebody that went behind your gate. They're
Mm,
forever watching my place. And
mm,
it's an exchange,
yep.
you know, and that's how my grand opening came about.
Hmm.
But I think when everyone knew that it was a garden here is when I kind of linked up with the school.
Hmm.
Because when you link with the school, I linked with Finch Elementary right
Hmm.
on Avon, and I wanted to teach a curriculum here so that the kids can learn math,
Hmm.
because math is what you use here in the garden to
Yeah.
know, you know, in a 3 by 50 foot bed, how many plants you can plant at 18 inches apart. How many can you get in there? That's a math equation.
Right,
So a lot of farmers got to do math.
right.
They have to understand, you know, how much square footage they need to put their amendments down.
Hmm.
So math is a huge part of farming, alongside biology, you know, and the whole ecosystem of how the farm works.
Hmm. Hmm.
So with that being said, a lot of parents, our name got out there very quickly.
Hmm.
I didn't get out there quickly. I never really had the time. No one met me until about 2016.
Okay.
It was my ex-husband that was on the forefront. You know,
Hmm.
he would go to a lot of these meetings. You know, I'm working, I'm selling cars right
Right,
now,
right.
but behind the scenes, I'm building the
Hmm.
character. I'm building the garden, you know, behind the scenes,
Hmm.
totally behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still behind the scenes. Kind of like it back here.
Right, 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 right. So tell me, like once you did leave the car sales and you said, okay, I'm here. Like, tell me, what area did you say this is my piece of the farm that I like to do? Is it the growing? Is it the animal husbandry? Is it the workshops and the classes that you teach to like, what did you say? Okay, this is what Lovey is supposed to do with the community garden.
Yeah, I really tell a lot of the people in my workshops that it takes two to farm.
Mm-hmm,
One has to farm, one has to do the agribusiness.
mm-hmm,
For me, I found my calling in agribusiness.
mm-hmm,
I found in getting grants, how to maneuver different companies to donate to my nonprofit, to
mm-hmm,
understand my cause, to appreciate my cause,
mm-hmm,
to understand there's a bigger picture than just Gilliam. There is a sector of people out there that are not eating.
mm-hmm,
How do we get food to them?
mm-hmm.
Now, I understand we got big food banks and we have all of this, but that's processed food. I'm
Right.
talking about how can we get fresh food
Mm-hmm,
that's cut right off the vine to our people,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that was my calling,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the calling that I still walk in today.
Right. So you said something a couple of times that I want to make sure that the viewers pick up on. You said agribusiness a couple of times. So talk to me about some of the farmers that we interact with. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, I'm going for profit. I'm going nonprofit." Some have not formed a LLC. Some they don't look at their farm as a business. They just throwing seeds in the ground, and then when it's grant time, they have nothing established. So talk to me about, I guess, pros and cons, profit, nonprofit, and just the business structure from the agribusiness point of view, like you shared.
So the workshop that I'm doing now started in February. It's 5 months long. And when you graduate, you'll have all of your tools that you need
Mm,
to be a successful vendor and business owner of a farm.
mm,
So to just throw seeds out there, oh, I don't want no money, I just like to put my feet in the dirt, that's reckless, right? That's a waste of time because you're growing something that you can't move
mm.
if you're not going to eat it all yourself,
Right, right.
right? So in agribusiness, you need to know who are you growing for.
Mm-hmm,
Who's your customer? Are you gonna stay black? Are
mm-hmm,
you gonna go Caucasian? Are
mm-hmm,
you gonna go Chinese?
mm-hmm,
Are you just gonna serve everyone, right? And
mm-hmm.
what I mean by that, black black African American palate has has stayed the same for many years.
Right.
It is changing with the new movement of vegan,
Mm-hmm.
but basically we could say that it's collard greens, it's kale,
Yeah.
it's string
Yeah.
beans, it's lima beans,
Little
it's
sweet
black eyed
potato.
peas, sweet
Mm-hmm.
potato,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. But then we go to the Chinese, and that's bok choy, that's
Mm.
arugula,
Yep.
those are the tender greens.
Yep.
Then we go into the Caucasians, they want the white eggplant versus the purple
The purple.
eggplant.
Yeah. Right.
Then you go into the Mexicans, they want cilantro, they
Right.
want certain herbs with everything that they buy as vegetables. So
Mm,
you have to start learning the culture
mm-hmm.
in order to be able to grow for that culture and
Mm-hmm.
be able to have a variety at your table at farmers market day,
Wow.
to just not supply to just one ethnic group,
Right. Right.
but you learn what they eat and you grow that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
So
powerful.
that is part of the agribusiness, is understanding who's your customer base.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
now you know what to grow.
Right. Right. And so now you just said, instead of being reckless on a business side, that also says what farmers markets do you attend? Are you
Exactly.
only, are you going to the Peachtree markets? Or you staying in the West End markets? Or, I'm only doing East Point, but East Point is diverse, right? Are you going into the Serenbe markets, right? So the intentionality, what I hear from you saying is, each seed you put in the ground, you're intentional. Like, I'm not just putting this seed in the ground to see it grow. This seed is going to customers like this at some point. Right. Now, on from that side of the business, there's this grant side. You mentioned your class. Can you tell us a little bit about your class that you're offering?
Yes, this is the beginner farmers class. So we started in February, a little late in the season, but so far all of the students, which are six,
Hmm.
I only could set six at a time, so I could do some one-on-one.
Hmm.
So these six have already been certified WIC.
Wow.
They've already got their Serve Safe certificate. They
Wow.
already have an egg canneling. They already know how to do a soil test. They know how to do an amendment according to the soil test.
Mm.
They've already have gotten their crop plan. They know the maturity dates of when to put it down, when to sow it, when to pull it up.
Mm.
All of these things are important.
Hmm.
They already have a farm and track number, which is
Come on now.
huge.
Come on now. Hmm.
That is the first thing any farmer needs to get. They
Hmm.
need to secure their crop and
Hmm.
know that the FSA, if you don't tell them you want to secure your crop, they're not going to secure your crop. So if you have a bad winter and your crop took a hit and frost, you get paid for that.
Right.
But
Right.
if you don't know that or have your name in the system as this person did grow this crop and we did have a frost, they're due $3,000
Right.
according to the size of their bed and how much they got down.
Because we had a
But what
frost last
happens?
night.
It frosted last night, exactly.
Right.
So if you're not, nobody should really have anything down anyway. See,
Hmm.
it's those ones that are jumping and not
Hmm.
looking at the weather, not doing their worst research in Almec that took a loss. But
Mm.
the real farmers know that you don't plant any spring vegetables till the time go up.
Right. Right.
That's your indication
Right.
that you have more daylight time now.
Hmm. And
You
that was
know,
what? That was just this weekend, right?
that was just yesterday.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, if you have something in the ground before then, shame on you.
Right.
What you have should have done all this time is to make sure that you did your soil sample for what you want to grow in these beds, that you had amended it according that the land has rested and now it's ready.
That's ready. Yep. 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 That's awesome. Now, will you be offering this class after this? Those six go through. Will you offer it again? Is this going to be an ongoing class?
It is going to be an ongoing class. The next class will start in September. Um, well, actually, this past Friday they were here and they got trained on the BCS tiller.
Oh, wow.
Um, I think that's huge that each one of them learn how to use a mini walk behind tractor.
Mm-hmm.
One that can do a bed shaping, one that can do brush. These are all the things that you're going to be up against one time in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So to learn how to use this machine to your advantage,
Mm-hmm.
I think that all should be trained on the BCS tiller.
Right. And you just said something, Lovey, that sparked something. So, we hear, from those entering into farming, hey, I want 70 acres and I'm going to do it all organic, right? And, people like yourself and me, we look at that like, okay, you know what organic means, right? And so sometimes our eyes are bigger than the reality of what it takes to keep something organic, right? And so, even on your space, you grow a lot, but there's intentionality between the length of the rows, etc. What would you say to those that don't really understand the workload behind growing organic or growing naturally?
Well, those that are trying to go for 10 acres plus, I applaud them.
Hmm.
For one, having the vision to want to do something on a big scale.
Hmm.
Um, then I would really want to find out what you're going to grow. Are you going to do like a small fruit orchard, which is really hard to do organically because of the bugs, the insects that come to just that particular fruit.
Yep. Hmm.
Each tree has a different demon
Hmm. That's
that
right.
comes to eat up the tree.
Yep.
You know, um, I think education is very important, and I think that's a disconnect of what's going on for our new farmers,
Hmm.
our midway farmers, and our old school farmers.
Hmm.
There is a disconnect all the way through. Our old farmers do it the old way. They're
Hmm.
not open to change.
Yeah.
They think that their old way always works, but the land is always changing.
Yeah.
And we always have to make sure that we go according to what the soils tell us it is.
Hmm.
We can't look at the landscape and say, "Oh, I can do this." Your soil might have be too loomy,
Hmm.
and you ain't gonna be able to grow none of that type of stuff you want.
Mm-hmm.
So until you understand the soil beneath your feet,
Yeah.
then you can determine what you're gonna grow, how you're gonna grow it organically, naturally, or with just compost.
Right.
Those are choices you'll make after you find out what the soil and what the land is going to give you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So were you, because you took land that was inside the city, how long did it take you, and what was your process to get your land ready to receive the seeds, the crops that you desire to do? Like, what was that
So
process?
it took me about a year and a half. I met a lady named Miss Pickard, Valerie Pickard.
Valerie Pickle, yes, yes,
Remember Valerie?
yes. Valerie was mine
Oh,
before Shamika.
yes,
Yes,
that's my girl. I mean,
yes.
Valerie. We came through this farm, and I think I spent almost $500 on soil testing,
Mm,
and just to find out, each part of this farm was different.
mm-hmm,
The pH was different. It was
mm,
all off balance, and Valerie came in. She says, "You have a lot of mending to do. So let's cut it up." You
mm,
know, just as the soil test cost 500, to amend this whole land will cost about 2,500.
mm.
And at that time, money is scarce.
Come on now.
So you have to kind of take small steps
Mm-hmm,
and start chopping your land up and say,
mm-hmm,
okay, I'm going to work here. I'm going to develop this, bring this to a pH of 5.9 to 6.2.
mm-hmm.
And once you have that pH, understand that it changes every time it rains.
Right. Yep.
So we got to know, how to go out to our soil, test our soil on a regular basis.
Mm,
Just as you water is just how you should test your soil
mm,
of any kind of changes, any mood swings that soil is going through.
right.
Does it need vitamins? Does it need some minerals? Does it need fish emotions? These are the tools to keep your soil healthy. A
Mm.
healthy soil will bring forth a healthy product, will bring forth a healthy paycheck.
Wow. Come. Now,
I'm all about the money.
right. Let's go there for a second. Let's talk about money.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's talk about money.
Let's talk about money. So, of course, how I entered into the farming. My mentor Wayne was already doing cows, so I entered the farming from the meat side, right? And
Yes.
and oftentimes the meat side, for me, it can distort your view because I was like, I will never grow anything because I'm only doing meat, right? But then my customers would buy meat and they was like, you don't have no lettuce, you ain't even got some cilantro, anything. Can I get some rosemary with my lamb, right? I was like, no, I got some pecans that fell, but I'm putting your meat in the freezer, you bag out the driveway, right? And I knew there was an imbalance. And then for my family, we wanted to have something in the garden, but my fear was, I think there's no money in the vegetables. But it's just because I just didn't know. So talk to us
Yeah.
about the money side of Gilliam and how Gilliam is maintaining from the money side.
So we have several steps. um, at first, I was for my black people, and I only grew like collard greens, lima beans, okra,
Mm-hmm.
tomatoes, cucumbers, stuff like that, which is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
So I only made my money on 3 months out of a season
Mm.
because cucumbers don't grow in the winter.
Right.
But that's where my mind was until I began to develop a menu, a palette of diversity of people that I know that gonna spend the money.
Mm.
And you can't be afraid to ask. You're not paying for it. You're not eating it. So don't be afraid to ask for what you think your product is worth.
Mm.
And I'll break that down in a minute. But as I began to expand in my growing and the variety of kale or the variety of leafy vegetables that I would grow, I could serve um, multiple people, multiple nationalities,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with one kale. I can have curly kale, flat leaf kale, dinosaur kale, purple kale.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of them are eaten by a different nationality.
Mm.
Some Caucasians do not like the curly kale.
Mm-hmm.
They only like the dinosaur kale.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dinosaur kale, that's a premium price.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You got to know what kale is regular, what kale is premium,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to categorize your vegetables as so.
Mm-hmm.
If you having collard greens, you got Bates collard greens, you got Southern collard greens.
Mm.
It's a premium on Southern collard green,
Right.
not not on the Bates. The Bates is your cheaper, but you always need the cheaper, especially if you're gonna take food stamps, especially if you're gonna take WIC. You're gonna have to have a variety that all people can afford your food. They
Right.
might not be able to afford a particular vegetable, but they can still afford something on your table,
Right. Right. Right.
and that's doing that's giving good customer service.
That's good. Good.
when
So
when somebody can or anybody can come and buy something from your table.
right. So one thing you told me one day, you was like, Patrick, you don't take wick, and I was like, no, I don't know how do you do that, right? I was like, how do you do that? So you gave me a phone number. You said call this number, tell them Lovey said call, right? And so I was able to get my machine, and
Yes.
it allowed me to now get money
Hmm.
from families that couldn't afford my meat just cash or but now they had this card. I was able to sell it, and then we did then went to a market where it's dollars and it. So like, how did you learn this stuff? How did Lovey begin to be like when you say grants in Atlanta and farming? Like everybody says, called Lovey. Like, tell me how that part happened.
I think I hit a roadblock, and um the dealership kind of suffered one year,
Hmm.
and I wasn't making as much, on the car, and Gilliams was costing a lot of money with everything we got going on here. I just started Googling grants. And then I found out that if I go through Sam's, I'll get a cage number.
Hmm.
This cage number would enable me to bid on any USDA grants and get funded. I
Mm,
said, okay, so let me try that. So I went and I did everything I had to do to get a cage number. I got that cage number. I got my first grant for 50,000.
mm, mm.
That was just like, woo!
Right,
I got
right,
to do this again.
right.
And I just started. I started. That's all I needed.
Right.
That was more than it was almost up with my pay.
Hmm.
That I was
Yeah.
making selling cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I says, okay, I think I can do this,
Hmm.
and I just began to continue to dig within the FSA, the
Hmm.
USDA. What grants do they have for farmers? Then I found the farm bill, and that was it.
Right.
Once I found the farm bill and kind of understood the language
Mm.
and maneuver through the applications, it is if you can make yourself a template
Mhm.
of your business, it'll make your grant for any grant that you go for easy.
Right.
But
Right.
it's that first initial sit down and read
Yeah. Yeah.
and create your template of who you are, what's your mission, what's your vision, what is your theory of change. How, if I give you this $50,000, what changes will you make in your community?
Mm.
You got to have it down, you got to have it strong, and you got to have an understanding of what community you're serving.
Right.
What is the ratio? What is the income ratio? What is the race ratio?
Mhm.
Are there voters in this area? You know, if there's strong voters in this area, that means money comes to this area.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Mhm.
they shopping at Whole Foods. You think they ain't got no money? They at Trader Joe's.
Right. Right.
They ain't with you because you ain't tapped into them yet.
Yeah.
You didn't know that the neighbor next door is a millionaire. It hasn't have to nothing to do with the zip code.
Come on now.
But once you start understanding the senses of where the community that you're serving, what is in your community, how much money flowing in there, what they say the income ratio is, you tap into that money.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
Hmm.
So with that, you're able to, like I said, that's a good influx of cash coming in. So there's different things that you added to the farm. So like I saw the kitchen outside, outdoor kitchen. So
Yes.
walk me through what's on Gilliam's farm that you were able to do now that you got a stream of income coming in.
So I kind of got two high tunnels,
Hmm.
and there are two different zones. One is a zone 10, and
Mm-hmm.
the other one is a zone 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I needed these two zones, I needed to be able to grow off season. I needed to
Mm-hmm.
grow in a hotter uh, high tunnel than my 7B because I live in 7B. But my 10 takes me to Florida,
Mm.
takes me to the Bahamas. So I create that atmosphere within my high tunnel to be able to continue to have my fruits and vegetables that are summer fruits grow through the winter
Mm.
or grow all the way through November,
Wow.
December,
Wow.
and then I clean it out for January, get ready for February. I
Right.
done already grew, so it's designating, the farm on hot zones, cold zones, where my shady areas are. Where can I make money? Can I do a Zen garden where somebody would want to come and take pictures? I charge for that.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoor kitchen came about when I knew that, I had this piece that I didn't know what to do with. I says, if I have an outdoor space area, maybe you can have a wedding here.
Mm.
That was my first, mindset that you can have a nice venue for a wedding, a nice farm wedding,
Mm.
cowboy
Right.
wedding.
Right.
That's
Right. Right.
I had
Right.
all that going on.
Right.
But the kitchen came about is when a lot of the chefs didn't have a place to showcase their food.
Mm.
So in building this, I have a full like commercial outdoor kitchen area where you can cook whatever. I have a shed that has everything from pots to plates to everything you need to create a meal.
Mm.
If you don't have these things and you're just starting out, cooking, then you come here and you rent everything that I have.
Mm-hmm. Agribusiness.
AgriBusiness.
Mm.
You can rent the forks,
Mm.
rent the knives, rent the plates,
Mm.
charge tickets. Come on.
Right, right, right. And it's
Hmm.
in the city. One of the things that I was so impressed with was your chickens. Like you were getting eggs when everybody else eggs had shut off. Lovely chickens was still. You have some of the happiest hens, right? And so, like, I still admire your larger chicken coop. I just think is amazing. So, you do have livestock. Tell me about what livestock that you do have on the farm.
So I had hogs, and Wayne had to help me get these hogs off of this property, and I'll never have hogs again. I do have goats,
Hmm.
which I'm really about to switch out, and I'm no longer going to do goats. So I'm down to my last two,
Okay, okay,
and once I sell these off, there'll be no more goats at Gilliam.
okay, okay.
That's when I'll get into more chickens,
Mm-hmm.
more meat birds, and
Mm.
turkey.
Mm. That
But
turkey's
I
gonna be.
will tell the secret of my chicken recipe.
Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh.
Oatmeal.
No way.
Yes, in the winter, if you feed them oatmeal, they'll continue to lay.
Like cooked oatmeal or just
Whole
dry?
kernel, whole kernel corn and oatmeal. Just you go
Oh,
to Tractor Supply and get a bag of oats.
and just feed it to them.
Man, it just makes them happy. They don't like it in the summertime,
Mm-hmm. But in the
just in
winter,
the wintertime. Hmm.
yeah, cause my hands be like, bro, hey, I'll see you in April. Shut it
And it
down.
helps with the molting. The whole corn. I don't do crack corn
Mm-hmm.
because it's like rocks.
Mm-hmm.
I do a whole corn where they can pull the oil out. And once they pull the oil out of the whole kernel corn, it helps them with molting.
Right.
So their skin stays tender. It doesn't get rough and their feathers fall out.
Wow, it's a science
Hmm.
between everything. So now, you're established on the farm. You got multiple streams happening on the farm. You got your zones. You got your outdoor kitchen. Now you're ventured off the farm with some new endeavors. Tell us about those new endeavors.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, everything had to be reevaluated here at the farm because food banks came in and took over.
Mm,
They flushed the community with bags of food,
mm-hmm,
which then means that I'm not selling food.
mm-hmm,
People are no longer working, they're not buying food.
mm-hmm.
I said, well, okay, well, I want to be part of the food bank then. If the food bank is getting all these donations to continue to give the people food and they are bypassing the farmer, well, okay, well, I need for you to look at me in a different light.
Right, right.
So I decided to go into the grocery store. I decided to do a business plan and see what it looks like from the farm to the market,
Wow.
literally. And as I put that together, and as I see people will spend their last to come in and get a fresh tomato,
Mm-hmm.
because the people know what they're getting when they go to these box stores.
Right, right,
Because
right.
we know what a tomato's supposed to look like, and we know what it's supposed to taste like. Watermelon don't taste the same anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going through where our food is being shipped in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? While the big corporate farmers are shipping their food out.
Yep. Yep.
They're shipping it overseas, getting top dollar versus, bringing it here to our own communities, these big, you know, corporate type farmers.
Right.
So it was important for me to try to see if I can, still stay in business, not go under, and be able to expand through this difficult time that we're in right now.
Wow. Wow. Now, that's a big cost, Lovey. So, were you able to? You got to tap back in to say, okay, now I got to dig back into the grants, or you gonna
Yes.
run it yourself? Like, how do you take on from going from my farm and then doing farmers markets to like I'm about to take over a grocery store? Like, do you need help? Like, what's going on with that?
So I kind of looked, online again for organizations that believed in healthy eating.
Hmm.
And as I began to go, funnel through a lot of material, I came across Bernard uh, Tyson.
Hmm.
He's passed away, but he was the chief um, director of Kaiser Permanente, black man,
Hmm. Wow.
and Bernard Tyson. And he gives out grants every year through the American Heart Association.
Hmm.
So then I went to the Heart Association and began to look at their criteria,
Hmm.
and it was a match.
Mm.
So they matched me with over six figures to get this done.
Oh wow. When in doubt, call Lovey. Wow. Wow.
So, I was really happy about that, that they understood the concept. And, I'm even expanding from there
Mm.
because now I need to go into the virtual world. I see a disconnect with the millennials.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our millennials not cooking.
That's right.
They're not cooking because we haven't made it fun yet.
Right. Right.
We haven't made it techie yet.
Right.
So
Right.
we got to find that niche, and I believe I'm coming across something that's going to draw these millennials in
Wow.
such a way that they will be shopping at the market versus shopping at the different local restaurants. Not saying that I'm trying to take the restaurants' money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I do want them to be able to rely on their own ability to serve themselves.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
cooking is that you serve yourself. You take time with yourself. You create something that's nourishing for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we got to get them to that place. So I am working on something with Leafy Greens Market that's located at 2824 Church Street.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to open in April.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Oh no.
Hoping to open in of uh April of 2022.
Okay. Okay. So
Yes.
tell me what the next, because you move so fast, Lovey. I don't want to stretch it too far. Tell me tell me what the next 2 years look like for Lovey Gilliam and your enterprise, because it's not just a community garden anymore. Like, what does the
Yeah.
enterprise look like in the next 2 years?
Wow. It's funny you say that, Patrick. I'm not even open and I'm on to the next thing.
Right, right.
But I plan to move Gilliams about an hour away to
Hmm.
a place called Sparta.
Sparta, Georgia. Okay, okay.
Sparta, Georgia. I fell in love with Sparta, Georgia.
Really?
I fell in love with it. It doesn't have nothing.
Mm.
So
Peace.
it needs me.
Right,
The
right.
people need me.
Is,
They
is
don't
that
have nothing.
is that in the heat of the night? Is that Sparta, Georgia?
Yes. Heat of the night. They
Heat of
ain't
the
got
night.
nothing out there.
Wow.
So, my whole plan is to go out there and be able to have, big franchises support me.
Mm,
So I am looking at a parcel of land, and
mm,
I am in talks with a Quick Trip
wow.
to be able to. I will be able to give them some land to be able to build, so that when you come to Sparta, you got a Quick Trip. They don't even have a Quick
Mm,
Trip.
wow.
They don't. So I'm talking with Krispy Kremes. Are they willing to come out there? I'm talking to owners that own Dunkin' Donuts. Are you willing to pay for my land to bring a Dunkin' Donuts to this area? They don't have a donut shop.
Wow. And this
So
is in
I'm
2022.
2022. They still live in 2015 or no 20 no 20
Tw-
2000.
right.
They
Wow.
don't even have credit card machine.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I love it because it's a black county.
Mm-hmm.
It's a poor black county,
Mm-hmm.
and they need the support now.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know that we got to go back to the basics
Mm-hmm.
in order to rise.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
with the farm out there, I'll be farming, different things. One to be vegetables, the other one would be animals,
Yeah, you can spread
the
out.
jobs.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm going for the biggest grant I ever went for, to be able to help me and them understand that it's a necessity. It's not a want.
Wow. Wow. So
They need it.
so tell me, this is what I just heard. I heard that Lovey is going to expand. So when she's expanding, now she can bring what she's growing from Sparta into Lovey's grocery store, and then Gilliams can be the urban training center that prepares them to come back down to Sparta to work the land on Sparta. And now within the Lovey Gilliam enterprise, you got jobs, you got grocery, you got food, you got transportation. Somebody got to
We
move.
got gas.
You got gas, right? Wow. So from a woman in this industry that's a trailblazer, what
Uh-huh.
motivates Lovey to keep pushing and to be a trailblazer in this space?
Money.
Mm,
Mo-
like as simple
Money,
as that.
Patrick.
Wow.
Don't think that you cannot make money in farming. I mean, the money is there. You just got to know how to market. If it's CSA to help you get started, which is consumer supported agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
it's that upfront cash infusion
Mm-hmm.
that helps the farmer be able to get the plants in the ground. Then you turn around and you just give it back, and the cycle continues itself
Mm-hmm.
until you can be able to build, more of a customer base foundation.
Right, right,
Mhm.
right. So, tell the listening and viewing audience, like, where can they find? Give us all of your social media. I need your social media. I need your addresses to the farm and to the grocery store. Go ahead and tell us, where can we find Miss Lovey and Gilliam's Community Farm?
Well, I work along with Jack. Jack Johnson is a college grad. He's actually an Amish boy
Mm-hmm.
out of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Different type of he's actually a Amish
Wow.
man,
Wow.
and we growing very different now. So
Wow.
you can reach Jack here at Gilliams Community Garden, at 1286 Oakland Terrace.
Okay. Okay.
And in Atlanta, Georgia, the Leafy Greens Market, that would be an all natural food market, is at 2824 Church Street, East Point, Georgia. Also, my Instagram is Gilliams Community Garden, and my Facebook is Gilliam Farms.
Gilliam Farm. Right. Right. Now,
Yeah,
now, are you at any other farmers markets, or have you limited, like?
yeah, I've limited.
So you.
I think everybody should go through the farmers market. For me, I'm over, packing my car up,
Mm,
then getting to the farmers market, not knowing what the people want,
hmm.
or what the people want to eat this week. This week it might not be collard greens, it might be they want spinach,
Mm,
and then I have all this on the table, and
Right.
I got to bring it back home.
Right.
That's when you have to be creative. As soon as you hit your farm, what am I going to do with all this extra vegetables?
Right.
Now your added value products got to come. You got to start thinking, because it cannot be a way. It cannot all go to compost all the
No.
time.
No. No. No.
And a lot of farmers just throw it to compost, or they give it away. No, now we got to make an added value product. So
Hmm.
collard greens can be done into a salve,
Mm.
and it has vitamin K,
Come on.
vitamin A.
Come on now.
So you just got to be creative in what you're growing, to know that what you're growing can be done into a value added product that can be reselled next week.
Yeah. So, and Lovey, now, are there any more? Like, there needs to be a Lovey class. Like,
Stop playing.
I know you. I know you're doing. I know you got the beginning farmers, right? But there
Yeah,
needs to be, like, people need to sit and listen to and learn from you, because you're a trailblazer in this space, and you've
I
been able to
appreciate that. Thank you
navigate.
so much,
Oh,
Patrick.
and that's 100% sincere. You've been able
Yeah.
to navigate this space, and, like, I didn't know about NRCS, right? It was in a conversation with you I learned about NRCS, and that's how I found Valerie and now Shamika. But
Yes,
but
yes, I remember.
many people
You was
were
like, "Hi,
not
tunnel."
right. How was that? Right.
Uh, I never forget the day the storm came in. Oh my God, all of our high tunnels got hit at one time.
All of them,
It
right?
was a
It
disaster.
was a disaster, right? But you know, one thing that Wayne and I were able to do, we did the same business on two different sides of the city, but we worked together and we understood, like, even if everybody ate, there's still not enough to where we have to compete. And you were one of the few farmers that were willing to just share. You're like, hey, you in February and I'm in Atlanta. Like, we all can do it, So too oftentimes we hold stuff and we don't want to share. And
Yes,
everybody is eating. If everybody ate only from the farms, we still would not have enough, right? And
exactly.
so that sharing piece has been, for me, has been so instrumental. So, like, where else would you tell people to go if they want to start right now? They got $300,000 and they want to get into farming space. What guidance would you give somebody? What guidance would you give the 2011 version of Lovey Gilliam? What guidance would you give her right now?
I would say to buy your land, find out what's on your land. Don't cut your trees and give them away. Do a survey of all your trees. The ones that you cut, you make them into boards. You get a sawmill to come up there, and you cut them into boards, and you kill them yourself in your own barn.
Mm,
Turn around and you use them on your own land.
mm,
But we got to come to a point where we stop throwing away stuff that we think is garbage, because we don't have that education to know what it is.
wow, wow.
So I would tell them that scope your land, bring an arbor out there. That you might have a maple tree. You don't know what you have until you get a survey.
Hmm.
Survey your land, find out where your water is. Do all the basic stuff. Just don't go there and say, I want to put seed down, start putting seeds down, and you don't know what you're doing.
Mm,
Do your homework first. It's going to take you maybe a year, to kind of landscape and feel what you want to do and grow into it.
hmm.
Just don't rush into it,
Hmm.
because you're missing a lot of money when you're rushing and not growing.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, Lovey, I am so happy that you took this time. I know you're busy.
Oh,
Hmm. I
thank you
know
so
you're
much,
busy.
Patrick.
Yes, and I know that this small episode is going to help so many farmers out there. And you and I know that this has been some of the best times in our life, being, one with nature and in tune with the land and the animals and the benefits, right? But there's people that are getting into it now that if they could just have people like you to give them guidance, they won't have some of these stumbling blocks
Right.
that you have overcome, we have overcome. And so that's the purpose of fear, faith, and farming, just to be a roadmap along the way, so people can be successful. So I thank you, Lovey.
I
i
thank you so
i,
much.
I hope that Sparta, Georgia is ready for the takeover, the
Mm,
rebirth, because what you're
I'm
bringing to them.
coming.
You're coming.
I'm
Now,
coming.
before we go, now I heard that you might have some great Pyrenees puppies. Tell me about Your puppies.
Oh my God, I have 8 puppies. Beautiful. So my Louis I bought from you.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, and he's still a puppy, but he knew what to do.
Hey, hey,
And
hey,
he
hey.
was with my Lily.
Uh-oh,
And so
uh-oh.
I have 4 girls,
Wow.
4 beautiful girls, and I have 4 boys.
Wow. That's amazing.
And they'll be ready for sale in about 2 more weeks.
And when if people are interested, how do they contact you? Go to what's the
They
best
can
way?
just go on my website. That's my phone number.
Okay,
So
okay.
my cell phone number is 678
Mm-hmm.
949
Mm-hmm.
8530.
Okay.
The females are 15 and
Mhm.
the males are
Go ahead.
1,000.
That's I know that's right. And they are so worth it. If anybody understands anything about the Great Pyrenees,
They are so worth it.
yeah, that's so worth it. And we know their dad, Champ, or well, their granddad, is one of a kind. So
Yeah, Louis is becoming to be one of a kind.
wow.
He's ready for a second litter already.
Oh, come on now. Well, again, Lovey, thank you so much. It's an
Thank you so
honor to
much.
have you. And I know this video is going to help many, many, many people, this podcast. And anytime you want to come back, anything you want to share, any announcements, all you got to do is say, Pat, I'm coming on. I got something to tell the world, and you're more than welcome to be here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you again.
appreciate you.
Love you. You be safe.
Love you
All right.
too.
Take care, Lovey.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.